And there is Tony Bellew with his take on Joseph Parker versus Daniel Dubois. And he went on to say this. He said, I think, let me quote him for just a second. Just give me time to look him up because it was a good there we go. All right. Now, this is what he said. He said, it's a top fight. I think the first 3 or 4 rounds are key. If Joe can see through them, I think he gets the job done. But Daniel is in rich vein of form. He rolls the dice every time, lets his hands go, and has no fear at the moment. But I think if Parker has been diligent in his camp, he can get the job done. He's a better boxer. He has more skills, but he isn't as powerful as Dubois. Also, he isn't as young, and youth can catch up with you. Those are the words and the prediction of Tony Bellew. And let me counterpunch. First off, let's do this. First off, I think Tony Bellew has a very good breakdown. And it makes sense. And I'm going to explain why it makes sense. For one, everything he said was on key. If he's done what he's supposed to do in gym. If he didn't just talk about what he can do versus actually preparing what to do when the time comes. Because a lot of people do that. You know, I think I'm this, I have the experience, I'm in my prime, but you ain't showing it in the gym. You're not grinding in the gym like you should have been. You're sitting there talking to the public of what you could do versus what you're doing, you know, what you're training to do. So I get that. And Daniel Dubois does start very early. He's a fast starter. If you notice, this last 3 fights, the only fight that I've seen some resistance is when Filip Hrgovic was catching him with those 1-2s. Bah, bah, bah. When he was catching him with those 1-2s, you know, we've seen a slow of what he could do. But he did show you that he can bounce back as well. Okay? But normally in the AJ fight and the Jarrell Miller fight, all through the Jarrell Miller fight, he showed that, hey, you know, I'm the top boy. I can do this, you know, and I'm coming to get you. And he does roll the dice. He does come right at you. Okay. And I think Tony was clever with his assessment based on if Joseph can get past the first 3 or 4 rounds, he may have a shot. Why? Because if you notice in the last fight that he was in with AJ, he pretty much was tired by round 5. If you guys can remember, he had slowed down. Sure, he was still throwing punches, but it was nothing compared to what he was doing rounds 1 through 4. Okay, and even rounds 4, he got caught with an uppercut that kind of slowed him down, but that might have just been because he shot his wad already. You know what I mean? So I think that's what Tony's seen in that AJ fight that gave him some hope for Joseph Parker. Because, see, Joseph Parker is a guy, he's a 12-round guy. See, Joseph, like Joe Joyce didn't get him out of there until the 11th round. And that's the only person that ever did that. And, you know, of course, you know, it's been proven through receipts that he was sick in that fight. You know what I mean? But he still took it. And, you know, Joe Joyce bashed him. All right, but, you know, Daniel Dubois is a young guy. He does roll the dice, and because he goes so hard so early, he can burn out. You know, we've seen evidence of that in the AJ fight. So if Parker can do that, if he can weather that storm, he can come back and rally just like he did with Zhang, because he's proven, hey, I've got put down, and he may get put down against Daniel Dubois with his onslaught, with that youth, with that hunger, with that power. He may be put down to the canvas because Big Zhang was able to do it. You know, that 1, that 2, you know what I mean? He was down, but he got back up. You know, and he weathered the storm, and he found a way to come in and come out, you know, throwing that right uppercut in there and get, you know, coming in with that right lead. And he was definitely game throughout that fight. And guess what? He pulled out a victory too. So that may be the case. So yeah, shout out to Tony Bellew for seeing that, because a lot of people forget that AJ he didn't really get the opportunity to land those 2 right hands until Daniel Dubois slowed down in round 5. Okay, because Daniel Dubois, then he started thinking because he didn't have all that energy no more. So he had to be more selective with those punches. Then AJ, caught him with that right hand and made him, made that leg do that little dance, and he ended up in the corner. And then, he backed Dubois to a corner and his damn guard wasn't up and the rest is history. So, yeah, I get it with Joseph Parker, but you can't overlook that youth of Daniel Dubois either. Because if you're younger, the more, the younger you are, you tend to recover faster. Especially when you're fatigued and when you're hurt, versus when you're older, everything slows down. I know that for a fact. You know what I mean? But no, it's definitely an interesting breakdown from Tony Bellew. You guys tell me what you think about his breakdown in the comment section below. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.